guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Renaissance Room podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. One thing I can honestly say that I've learned about Patreon transitioning, content creation, it is truly one of those things to where it's like, you know how you see somebody doing something? It's me being like, it's like gas reflux. I'm so sorry. I had like a vegan chicken sandwich. I think it was a little spicy. But you see how we see people creating content, and it sounds like this good thing to do. It sounds like this very easy, just turn your iPhone on. You can do this in 4 simple steps. And I would be remiss if I was to sit here and tell y'all that is not true. Like, there is some work that it takes to really put into like content creation. One of the biggest hiccups I've come across thus far is literally the storage. It's like you need all new devices. It's real out here, man. It's crazy. Anyway, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about rap culture, which I just thought this would be a really good topic because my sister had brought something to my attention. So I am not on socials. I'm living my very best life in my own definition in terms of like best life, and just really doing the work, like honestly, like literally doing the work. And so I'm not on socials. I've kind of tapped out. I've been more mindful. So anyway, I was pretty much making a Patreon video. This was actually going to be on the Patreon, but unfortunately, we ran out of storage. So that's a little hiccup that I'm learning as we're transitioning, as we're growing. It's like, there's a lot of moving parts, man, but it's not impossible. So I guess I just kind of wanted to get on and share that. Like, it takes work. Yeah, it takes work, but I don't mind doing work. I like working. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I really do like working. And it's like, you're coming into yourself when you start admitting those like little like things about you that are unique. Yeah, I do like working. It's weird. Anyway, rap culture. So, growing up for me, it was one of those things where I grew up in an era where you didn't let kids listen to certain music because kids were impressionable, right? Lyrics, the certain context, the music, content, all of those things. It was just something that wasn't exposed to children. It was like, you get into the car with certain people, they would turn off that song. They would put on a different station. For me, it was more so like leaning towards like the Mojo or, Kiss FM and so forth. So, there was a time, believe it or not, there was a time when we protected children from certain things because exposure, it just makes a difference, right? So I recently seen this interview with Lil Yachty. It was a little snippet, so I'm not really trying to get into them, but it was Lil Yachty. What is his man name? Lil Yachty and Drake. And he basically was asking him like, wow, sir, you're really getting up there. Drake, I think he said he was going to be 36. And, he was like, that's not old and all this other stuff. And, for me, every time I look at content online, because like I'm not on socials for real. So like, being on YouTube sometimes, I kind of just, I don't know, I have this thing. And I think it's the writer in me, that innate curiosity that always leads me to the comment section. But I always want to see how other people are engaging with the content. Like, what is everyone else's thoughts? Just, I don't know. It's nice. I love the psychology of it all. And so as I was scrolling through the comment section, it was just so funny because I seen someone and they just commented and they were just like, they were talking about Drake and the way he sounds as he speaks versus in his rap music. And it's really funny because like when you listen to Drake's songs, like this man sound like he got heart. Like you listen to this man's song and it's like, yo, this person, they've been through some things. And I don't know, I think it's just something about maybe like, it's really sad because honestly, as I'm getting ready to say this, I realize that it's a stereotype and a lot of people play on that. Like whenever you hear like a white person or like a kid who just had different experiences, whenever they describe Black people, they always talk about guns and violence in the hood, and they just make it this like movie type of scenery when it's really not giving that. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's just so funny. And I think that that's kind of what I feel like Drake does to an extent. And like just kind of looking at the character that he's developed and the PR. And first of all, shout out to the songwriters, because songwriting is one of those things where I think songwriting is so cool because you're on the back end, like you're not on the front lines, but you do all the work. You pretty much create the narrative, you write the song, you create the song, you set the tone, So songwriters are dope. Like, love songwriting. But stepping outside of that and just kind of looking at just this character of this facade that this guy has built himself on. And this is not one of those things to talk about mixed kids. And this has nothing to do with that. It's just very evident and blatant that, like, this is someone who is just so fake and, like, just so made up, you know? Like, and it's tough because it's like, you know, you don't really know a person, so you don't really want to, like, you know, attack a person's character, because I'm not really here for that. Like, I feel like when I try to do is just educate in a way and, like, enlighten, and more so just kind of, like, decipher what I'm seeing and, like, discern, you know, the real and the fake. But I'm not really here to be like, oh, I just, you know, because there was definitely a point in time where I really enjoyed Drake's music, like, you know, obliviously outside of his character, but I'm more so looking at, like, the person that he is, you know. And it's just interesting to me because it's like this person pretty much is just, like, made up off of a bunch of different things and, like, experiences and lyrics that are just not this person, you know. And it's just very evident. And, like, I don't know, it just amazes me because I think that's pretty much everyone in the rap industry, everyone in the music industry is like, they are made up characters and it's merely for entertainment. And I think it's dangerous because at this point we have, you know, it's one thing to not be educated, but it's another thing to be miseducated. Like, I think that's more worse than, like, not having any education. But I feel like today so many people are miseducated, and I don't really think that there was, like, this crazy, you know, plan of, like, technology and like engineers and so forth, that they set out with technology to be like, hey, you know, we're gonna create this plan and we're gonna devise the world with social media. Like, I don't really think that was the plan. I think that there were some engineers who had a good idea for, like, a product. It could have been stole. I heard that the iPhone was patented in China. I don't know. But I just think overall, when I look at the trajectory of it, I don't think it was supposed to be this way. And I don't think anyone could really predict the misinformation. And right now, it's crazy, yo. Like, when I see so many people following, like, influencers, like, you know, jumping on the Lori Harvey wave, how this person lives their life and trying to live your life the same way, or, like, you know, and it just amazes me because I think at this point people don't realize it. We talk all the time about, like, brainwashing and stuff like that, and it ain't really to, like, feed into that. Like, you think what you want to think, I don't care. But it's just more so, like, people are making decisions that they're not even, like, this is one of those things to where it's dangerous, because if you don't know what you want for your life and for your future, yet you're making decisions that don't even align, or you don't even know where you're going, you're not going to be aware of where that path is going to take you, right? So essentially, like, so many people today are making decisions that they don't even know where those decisions are gonna lead them. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't considering the consequences of their actions. They're not considering, okay, is this decision gonna get me to the life that I want? Like, is this gonna get me from A to B? And I don't think people are realizing that. People are just blindly making these decisions, and it's like, you're gonna look up and you're gonna be freaking miserable, bro. Like, think for yourself. I feel like what we have right now with social media, social fame, influencer culture, rap culture, is this mass appeal for popularity. And I don't know if y'all know or not, but, like, popularity was a really tough thing because, you know, it's not about you. It's about the image that you portray to others, and it's that people want, right? And so now at this point, it feeds your ego. Is very validating if you have unresolved trauma, which most people do. It's really hard to get out of that. I was thinking about what was I thinking about the other day? Oh yeah, I was thinking about, you know, just kind of being in a space where, oh, that's what it was. It was Nikki Giovanni and it was James Baldwin in their interview, or it could have been Maya Angelou. It was either I think it was Nikki Giovanni. I think it was Nikki, or it might have been Maya. And they talked about how an artist, like a true artist, could never be famous. And I thought that was really good because, you know, at the time when they were talking about it, it was because, you know, once you make a hit off of something, you have to keep doing that thing, right? And maybe you want to venture off and do something else. Or maybe, you know, you were going through a season in your life, which honestly, most artists create based on the current season in their life, what they're feeling, the things that they want to get out in that moment. Art is like the highest form of expression. So a lot of times people are really creating from that space. But what happens when you sometimes blow up or you get famous, you kind of have to stay in that box. And I think we heard City Girl JT she actually talked about this. And it's so funny because I always think it's so interesting how people will find a way to pedestalize celebrities and influencers and so forth, but they never take the time to look at their story. They never take the time like, okay, this person's background, this person's choices that they're making, the hands they've been dealt. And I think too, like, even when you just kind of look at like how a person is living, and I don't know, it's just very interesting. There's been interviews where she talked about how, she's different. She's not this girl who's like, get money and do these guys dirty. Like, she talked about that. But those things get overlooked. There was an interview Cardi B did where she talked about how, fame has kind of made her unhappy because she feels like certain aspects of herself is like she had to kind of put those things away. And this isn't to be like this sappy narrative that is on the opposite totem pole, where you have a lot of people who are just pretty much like succumbing to loserville and like they're not striving for anything. They're not, looking to be successful in any realm. You have people who are just literally like giving up on life because of arguments about things like capitalism and just like, like these things that have just kind of been ongoing, consumerism and so forth. So you have on one end of the spectrum, you have people who are like being miseducated, and it's like they're being blindly led. On the opposite side, you have people who are just on this passive wave of minimalism, and they're not striving for anything. They're not even trying. And so, you just want to be mindful of your consumption today. I think one of the things that really saddens me is the younger generation of girls. I really believe that we have to stop giving young kids so much credit. Yes, they were born in a generation where technological advancements were very heavy. Like, it's consistent, it's persistent. There are endless possibilities. Sure, they have Bitcoin. Sure, they have cryptocurrency. Sure, they have meditation practices, right? Like, all of those things are fine. But what they don't have is wisdom. They don't have the experience. And yes, there are some kids who are exceptions. For me, it was an exception. Like, I had certain exposure, I had certain wisdom given to me by my dad. Like, my life was different. I'm an exception to the rule. But overall, I still didn't know certain things. And I just think that right now we're in this space where we glamorize youth and we just look at them like they're just these like all-knowing little perfect beings of creation. And not to say that children aren't a beautiful blessing from God, but it's more so like people are failing to steward and over kids in such a way to where it's like people are no longer seeking to educate and discipline and correct children. People are looking at kids and teenagers like, oh, they know everything. They have technology, they're so smart. I remember it was like a moment where I just kind of noticed a shift, and I've been really, really mindful of like technology and just how it's been affecting our minds. I had someone at the time who was an old friend who, I remember her like talking, and like what she would say would sound so good. I'm like, yo, like that's real, thank you for sharing that. And like, I realized that like it was just one of those things where it was like she would say things, but it was like, how are you pulling that piece of information or that wisdom, that piece of wisdom or that knowledge when you've never been through those things? Like it just wasn't making any sense. You have people who were like, oh, they want to give you advice or they want to have an opinion about things, but their life doesn't reflect anything that would glean that type of wisdom or knowledge. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you have people who were like literally reading memes, but they don't even know where or how to apply it because it wasn't a lesson that they learned on their journey. It was something that they read, something that they seen. And that's what you have today. It's like you're filling these kids' heads with so much, and it's like they have no understanding. They have no application to the information that you've given them. They don't even know how to apply it, and it's really disheartening because I think what we do is like we kind of just be like, oh, they'll figure it out. Like they can, no, they won't. And that's why I do think a lot of people are leaning towards virtual realities, because kids don't have, like, young kids, teenagers and so forth, they no longer have the skills. They don't have the organizational skills. Their attention spans are being shortened, lessened, right? They no longer have the professional development. That's not a thing. A lot of people say what they want about schools, but like I said, working as a substitute teacher, it was very evident to me. Like, I'm in classes where they have entrepreneurial classes. They have classes about finances, how to get business loans. And this is at my old high school. Like, it was one of those things where that was never something that we were taught. And, they're learning about these things. People are implementing like, oh, we want to learn about taxes. We want to learn about money. We want to learn about entrepreneurship. But these kids aren't tapping into that. And you know why? Because first of all, it's one of those things where honestly, you kind of just got to get out in the world and do it. But it's also one of those things was like, because guess what? People are saying like, oh, school is this old thing. No, school has a very cool way of teaching you the fundamentals of life. I think that school gives you like a pretty cool foundation for like, okay, how do we go? Like, where do we go from here? A lot of people are saying these things about school, but they're not educating their kids at home because they don't realistically, like, they don't have the time to sit and educate their children. Like, no one has the luxury to sit around and be like a stay-at-home mom and like, or a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home family, whatever, and like sit and educate your kids. School gives children fundamentals, reading, writing, and productivity, most importantly, and so it creates this thing of like social interaction, how to kind of move about within the world in regards to professionalism. When you go to school, you show up a different type of way than you would at home, but now it's like a parallel, like there's no deciphering between the two. And so I think what we have is like a bunch of children who are just like, they don't even know how to show up in the world. And I think that this pedestalization, like putting kids on a pedestal, putting the youth on this pedestal of like, oh, they're just so smart, they just look at all these things they can do, they got TikTok, they got, we're really short-sighted with that, and we don't realize that they don't have it figured out. They don't have the answers. That's not, and so we have to be mindful of rap culture. We have to be mindful of influencer culture. And I don't know. I just think it's one of those things to where, unfortunately, you just have a lot of people who have, content, and it's just not productive. It's just not productive. Like, a lot of these conversations are remedial. People are afraid to kind of like tell you the truth. And I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to kind of sit and watch. But yeah, rap culture, it's fake. It's literally fake. These are essentially paid actors by industries, and not everyone. There's some good music out there, some good musicians. At this point, y'all don't even really listen to like anything. I don't really think anybody's listening to music anymore, which is also kind of disheartening. But music it's not really a thing anymore. People are about the aesthetic. You don't have to work as hard. And I think there was a point in my life where I was like, okay, I realized that older generations may be a bit envious of younger generations because opportunities are being presented without the legwork. But I think that there's some danger to that because it's something said about preparation. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. It was a bit of a mouthful. It was a bit of a mouthful, but yeah, man, rap culture it's very funny. It's very funny to just see all these people trying to pretty much stay relevant and sell you this lifestyle of freedom that they don't even have. You have more freedom working your job, your 9 to 5, getting off of work and living life on your own rules, than people picking your wardrobe, picking your songs, telling you how to show up and be when that's not even a reflection of you. I mean, it's absolutely like a lack of integrity. And this is what is being put on a pedestal today. Sit with yourself. I think that's a very hard thing to do. Because there, again, like I said, that healing work, it's so funny because I did the healing work and it was really tough. It was a really, really tough process, but it worked. And I think that it was something that became profitable. I think it was something that was more of a fad. It was new. And one thing I realized with culture, anything that's original or authentic, it's like people fly to it. It's like bees and honey, and people flock to it. And then it's like, okay, when the well is dry, people are on to the next thing. And so it just was very interesting to see a lot of people enter into that space, but not really take the time to like apply any of the things that they were learning. And so now we've skipped that stage, right? We skipped all the terminology, dark hour and dark night and, all these different things. And now we're more so just like, hey, we just want to manifest. Like, we just want it quick. We want it here. We want it now. And it's very interesting to just kind of see that, like, come full circle. But, it's just, like, I don't know. I think you just want to be mindful of the decisions you're making. Be mindful of like your influencers and who you're looking up to. Like, I don't know why we are so quick to just kick old rappers and, people to the curb. Like, when I think about an industry, I try to come from a perspective where it's like I really try to do some deep dive into the industry. Okay, where do I want to go from here? What do I want for myself? How can I create my own little niche within my industry? Like, I don't know. I think that there was a point in time where, this is funny, I think school maybe could have kind of taught you how to do a little bit of research about like your career or your job or your profession, like, period. And it's just funny because, you hear people too say things like, content creators or entrepreneurs, like they work more than a 9-to-5 person. I think we have to get out of this belief system that tells us that we're never going to have to work, that we're going to just live this life of leisure and we're never going to have to work. Like, you have to just get out of that mindset. Like, people who don't work are homeless. So like, grow up. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't exist. Like, now you get to choose what kind of work you do, but like, there's nothing that you're about to get that's just like, you're just never going to have to work for it. Like, it just doesn't exist. So I don't know. I just think that this web of lies, this entertainment and so forth, like, it just, I don't know. I just think it just has really changed a lot of things. And, me not being on socials, just like kind of stepping back because I just feel like it's just so much peaceful. But my sister telling me certain things and like me showing up and like seeing like, it's just like, what? This is crazy. The Ice Spice with the Kim Kardashian. Like, I just felt like that situation in itself was just really weird because it's like, this is a grown woman. Like, like you're a grown woman hanging out with like, and I don't know. I just feel like being aware of your influence and like what you rap about, what you like, I just feel like that would be so weird to kind of show up and be like, oh, let me hang out with this impressionable young child and be like, make this impression upon her, which is not a good one. That's, this one that is overly promiscuous. Like, why would you impress that upon? That just kind of really says a lot. So I don't know. I just think that people need to just kind of wake up and like, I would say, rid your desire to be entertained, find joy in your life, happiness in your life, and just, I don't know, learn that like, or realize rather, life really is not always about being happy. Like, I'm not a stoic, but it's just like, you're not always going to be happy in life. Like, and that's something I had to grow to realize within myself, that I think that was a lie that I believed from society, especially this new society. It's like, yeah, you're just not always going to have like these happy days of joy, like, will you always have joy? Yes. God promises us everlasting joy and the peace that surpasses all understanding. But nobody ever said you were going to be happy like every day. Like, sometimes, you're just okay. Genuinely, like, you're just doing fine. Like, you're not doing superb, you're just doing fine. And that's okay, So I don't know. I just think these narratives, rap culture, so forth, it's just becoming very dangerous because, again, it's about the impression, and it's tough when you're making an impression on the impressionable, and it's not a good one, so we just want to be mindful of that. We want to be mindful of that, and yeah, God bless y'all. Honestly, I send my prayers out to everyone on the other end of this line because, honey, we're gonna need the Lord himself. Amen. Good night.